Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Hi, Kevin.
Hello. Is that working?
It is on my.
Yep.
Wow, I'm impressed with myself.
I know, right?
Feel like a school kid.
Like hit or miss. I've been to a bunch of Zoom meetings where all of a sudden we've done it for weeks and weeks, and then like week 10, nothing works. So.
Well, this is my first, so I'm glad it's working.
You're not going to get graded on it, so don't worry about it.
Right.
I'm in my secure office environment.
Right.
And just sign some docs on your way out.
On my way out.
Who's sick?
I don't know. What's that? Who's sick?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's sick. Mayor Flower just decided this was the better way to do it with all the new regulations.
Oh.
I do know that Brown Jerry's was closed for a little bit, so maybe he's sick, but I haven't.
Oh, no, let's hope not.
Yeah, I hope not either. Or maybe it was just a safety thing.
Now, how will it work ultimately where I can see everybody, or how does that work? Because right now I see you, Julie.
So it
It's a
depends.
gallery view.
Yeah.
There's a view, gallery view. GALLERY.
I'll do the seals.
Okay.
Yeah, they finished early.
Okay. And the first part of the meeting is going to be open, so there'll be other people that you'll view besides just Alderman. Because we're going to allow comments this time where we didn't last time.
Did you find it, Kevin?
Well, right now I see you and Julie and nobody else but me.
So
Yeah.
in the top right hand corner, is there a little put your cursor all the way up to the top? You see a thing that says view?
Oh, okay. When I tap up here, I do see something. I had to tap on
Yep.
it. Switch to gallery view. Got it. Had to tap on it to make it appear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Wes.
Hi, Wes.
Hi, Wes. Where's your suit?
Huh?
Where's your suit and tie?
Oh, well, I'll go get it.
Yeah, no, that's a,
Nobody saw that.
Okay.
It's like the chief lost his head on my end.
Uh-oh.
uh-oh.
And Jerry's sideways.
Jerry, what the hell?
Hey, Gary.
Jerry's sideways.
I'm in. What am I doing here? Am I sideways?
You're
You are
You are
sideways.
sideways. I kind of like it like
Whoa.
No.
that.
Better.
Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Am I still sideways?
No, you're right.
Yeah, I have a flag hanging up here. Do we do the Pledge of Allegiance still?
We do. I think
Good, I do have one here.
Mayor Flowers actually up at City Hall, so he'll probably have a flag up there that we'll figure out how to do it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna start admitting a bunch of people. So Wes, I was explaining, and Jerry, so this meeting's open, so there'll be people that can ask things during the guest period. And then there's also a side yard thing on the agenda, so that person will be on the thing as well.
All right. I'm excited.
I know, right? If it
Do it.
all works.
All right, we're starting. Ish.
Make it look a little thin.
Should I let the mayor in? Do you think I should?
Hi, Caitlin.
Hello.
Oh, where did it go?
All right.
It is live, so you're just,
Hey there.
That's fine.
You want? Seven.
Logged in.
You log in? You can't log in. Why? Hang up the phone, Kathy. I know.
Okay, so these are all the people on. I don't have us on video, but that's all the people. So,
Can we get,
All right, we're, let's see, I got one. Does anybody know if did Jerry say he was going, Julie?
Yeah, so he was having some problems, but I did send him a text and I thought he was good to go. So I think he's coming, but that was this afternoon.
Okay, so I think right now we have everybody but Jerry on.
Mm-hmm.
the good looking here?
Right.
I get you guys confused quite a bit, Jerry. All right. Do you want to text him real quick, Julie, one more time, and then we'll just get going? Kevin, is that a boat motor in the background?
That would be a boat motor. I'm in my office. So it would be. It's the log boat. That's Logboat Brewing's insignia on the front of the motor. That's a Columbia place if you haven't been there yet.
What are you doing? All right, you're distracted. Craig's running around. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna call this one to order. Julie, you wanna go ahead and do a quick roll call
Mayor Flower,
here?
Alderman Dykeman,
I'm here.
Kilpatrick,
Here,
Escrazy,
Here,
Sir.
get off mute.
I see him. And Murray.
Wes kind of stunned me on that one. He's not making any moves. Wes, are you okay? Is he there?
He was.
He was.
just-
Yep, he's gone now.
Jerry
Great.
just tried to call me. I'm guessing maybe he's having some problems.
Well, yeah, see if you can't give him just the dial-in number. I love this. All right, we'll just kind of keep moving. We got 4.
So
Rest of you guys don't drop out, and we'll try and pick up 1 and 2 as we go. I never done the guest period on here. We have it. Is there anybody on that had a guest that's not on the agenda that wanted to say something at the board meeting? You could raise your hand, I guess. I can try and say something.
And it's not even,
No, yes, we would later on if we could.
Who?
Tansy, Keezy,
Yeah.
a guest out of, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Do you want to say something?
Well, we'd like to hear what you all have to say about any kind of flood-related activities, as we are a manufacturer down in Lake of the Ozarks in Camdenton that has a product, and I've actually done a cost analysis compared to your sandbag efforts in the past to defend the town of Eureka. And I just wanted to touch base and see if there was any future plans. I know you've got some walls being built out of concrete, but do you have any plan B option for should you guys flood again before the next, before the walls get completed? Is there any plan B, or do you have any preparedness or hazard mitigation grants that could stockpile product like ours? I mean, we're trying to reach out as a local vendor. We've been in business for 12 years. The product is called Big Bags USA, and that's our website.
Can you say that again?
Big
Big-
bags.
Big Bags USA.
Bag-
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I've done a cost analysis. If I read the numbers right, and with all the amount of sandbags that you did during one flight of one
I'm sorry,
flood fight.
just real quick, could I get your name one more time?
Yes, I'm sorry. My name is Tom, Tom Spile, Spalj.
Okay, hey, Tom, probably the
Yes,
best,
sir.
this is just our board meeting where we just kind of go through the agenda items. What I would recommend for you is if you want to contact the city about mitigation projects, I would contact Craig Sabo at, he's our city administrator. His numbers, the city hall number, you could get a hold of him, or it's CE Sabo, SABO at eureka.mo.us. And that way you could get, because we really, without information on what you're doing, he could give us some of that stuff and we could take a look at it. I mean, we're always looking at anything to try and prevent flooding.
Well, no, and I appreciate that. I didn't mean to interrupt your meeting. I was just trying to reach out because I was planning on actually attending and showing you our system firsthand.
But the best thing you can do rather than our guest period is if you want to do it like for sales of a product or a solution like that, we always at the board, we appreciate if you get it to the staff so they can give us information, give us a chance to read it and get it. And that way, if you do come down and we talk to you, we're a lot more informed on it. We can give you feedback as opposed to just, otherwise we're just kind of looking at it cold and we really can't respond.
No, I understand. I appreciate your time. And it's Craig Sabo.
Sabo, like the old baseball player.
Oh, Sabo. Okay. All right. We'll look you up online, and I appreciate your time. Y'all enjoy your evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to learning about it.
Okay. Thank you. Yep. Bye.
Tell you what, you never know what's going to happen in baseball. All right. So what do we got as our, do we have any more guests? I don't see anybody on there. So as far as the guest period. So let's go ahead to Planning and Zoning Commission, which would be item 4, and there was none and required no action. And then we had a front yard structure application from Megan Wardeman. She's on, but before we got on there, has everybody had a chance to take a look at it? Other comments, questions from the board? And then, maybe if we do, we can just have Megan answer that for you guys.
Okay, I did go by and took a look at the area, and I realized that it's a corner lot, so therefore has the front yard stipulations on both sides. But it does look like it's a dead end right beyond the house, if I'm not mistaken. I was curious if there's been any interaction with the neighbor that faces towards the garage. Well, actually, either neighbor across the street. Has there been any input from them?
No, I haven't spoken to them about regarding the garage at all. I think I've met the one across the street one time. He said he'd get with me after COVID and meet me.
Okay.
So I haven't had a lot of communication.
Well, is the footprint of the driveway going to remain the same? Because right now it looks like the driveway goes to the carport and then has a second car bay, if you will, adjacent to the right. So is the footprint of the driveway going to remain the same?
As of right now, that's what we were going to go with. But we would like to expand the driveway just so we could get into the garage if that's possible.
Sure, and then at the same time, the roof line looks like it would be where the carport is and then extend over to accept that one additional bay, correct?
Yes.
Okay, those are all the questions I have.
I don't have any questions.
Does the city owns the property right behind this property?
Yeah.
I'm just out of curiosity, what is it?
I back up to one of the holes on Little Legends Golf Course.
But there's like a little sliver back there that the city owns?
Yeah, it's just like overgrown trees and like I think we cut the grass up on it and everything, but
We probably owe you money. All right, does anybody have any questions on anything on the application? I mean, so just so we're clear for anybody at home, it's basically adding a garage on a lot that's on a corner lot, so it could face either way. But this is honestly more of a technicality. I mean, if it wasn't a corner, it would be a pretty standard thing. And then Craig wanted to mention that he does send out a notice. He received no feedback on it from anybody. That might address your question a little bit, Kevin.
Okay. And
go ahead.
I do have a comment that I actually think that it would add value not only to her property, but I think it kind of would improve the area right there as far as enclosing. There's not going to be a huge change, in my opinion, for neighbors, because if there's a car parked there now, the only difference is it's going to be inside a garage, which I certainly understand the security benefit and comfort benefit of that. So to me, it looks like a positive.
that's kind of how we were thinking as well. It would be kind of a benefit for the neighborhood, and then we don't have storage, so it could act as storage rather than things being like out on the under the carport and things like that.
So Kevin, since you see it as a positive, would you be interested in maybe supporting that we approve it?
I absolutely would.
All right.
And I would second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. If there's no more discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, you're good to go. I appreciate it.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We got, whatever. I don't know how it works.
Jerry is calling in, wants me to bring him in here and put him on a speaker.
No, it's over. He's got a, Jerry can dial into the number that she sent an email. Huh?
Apparently he's having a problem.
Hello, Julie?
He's on now.
He's calling in.
Yeah, my internet's knocked off.
Okay, but you're on the phone now?
I'm on the phone.
Okay.
That's Wes, Sean, not Jerry.
Yeah, that's Wes.
Here.
That's Wes.
Yeah, it's Wes.
Jerry's all the way here.
Should we have a Progressive commercial right now?
Jerry, you can't, is it possible you could call the number that she had on the Zoom? Because Wes is on that now.
I did, but it's not letting me in.
It takes a while to get on there. That's right. It took about 2 or 3 minutes.
All right. Well, here's the deal. Jerry, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you guys hear Jerry all right?
I can hear him.
That's wonderful. Good. Kayla Mary, I see you shaking your head too. That's excellent. Jerry, you're on. We're
All right.
we're improvising. All right. We just got done with that. We approved that garage structure for item 5. We just got done. So now we're jumping in. And Julie, he got here for item 6, I guess. So that's Jerry Holloway, everybody. All right.
Yep.
We got bill number. Craig, do we have a bill number on the water and
2677.
so now item 6 would be 2677. What would be the ordinance number if it was approved? Okay. So we have on here, item 6 is bill number 2677, authorizing the sale of the water and wastewater utilities to Missouri American Water. If it was passed, it would be ordinance number 2563. The way we would normally do that, we had a conversation on it last week. I was going to ask you guys, and we also have Brian from who was there last week from Missouri American Water. He could answer questions for you guys, but I wanted to, before we do a motion on it, we know we're going to do, we can do that, but I just want to throw it out to you on discussion. If anybody had any comments, questions on the agreement, but the agreement would authorize, this would basically be the next step. We did the vote to authorize the board to enter into the agreement to sell. This would be the actual agreement that has the terms of the sale. And if we did enter into this, then the next step would be this would go to the Public Service Commission. We both reach an agreement, and then it would have to be approved by the Public Service Commission, which is a Missouri state agency. And if they approved it, then subsequently we would close. And based on the schedule we're at now, we're probably talking 6 months or so. We're probably talking June, July before we would close, even if we approve this fairly soon. So I just want to throw that out as the background, but I would throw it out to the board. Anybody that wants to jump in or ask questions, go ahead.
Motion to approve it.
I would like a question first, though.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find the exact spot out of the 523 pages. As far as the water meter situation, there was a statement in there essentially that that Missouri American would change the water meter size going into a residence or a commercial business if requested. But essentially, there was a clause in there that as long as they approved it themselves, approved the change. And I just wanted some clarification on that.
I think what we're talking about on there, Kevin, is what Mo American is agreeing to do is to size the meter to the size that they would normally do it in their other systems. And that's where we were going back to that issue, saying our meters are probably larger than what they would do in normal systems. So the process, as I understand, would be is that you could call in and say, hey, I want to get this adjusted, or over time they would do that. And they're going to do an audit of the system also to kind of figure out what they have. So let me put that in the background. Their plan is actually to change out, I believe, almost all the meters we have, because they've got a new, it's easier to read technology that goes through with that. So they were going to be replacing that at their costs anyway. But they were saying if somebody wanted to make a change, they'll change it at their cost to the appropriate size. But say that it needed an inch, somewhere, you can't tell them to go to, a half inch. If it doesn't actually, it has to meet the requirement. So that's all they're saying is you can get it sized per their normal requirements.
Okay, and then there was the supplemental letter that talked about the compliance issue, which I believe was at the 3.16 or something along those lines. As far as the compliance is, it mentions redoing the lagoon. Basically, an awful lot of the infrastructure needed to be updated. And after all of those steps were taken, if I read this right, at that point, they would assess the ammonia standard and find out what needed to be done, but essentially get the lagoon caught up to date and then operate it, and then see what would be required for the ammonia compliance. Am I understanding that correctly?
Kevin, Brian, why don't you jump on, just talk about the plant process, and you guys can kind of wrap on that one.
Yeah, sure. My name is Brian Eisenloffel. I'm the operations director for Missouri American Water for our St. Louis operations. But Kevin, the way you stated that's accurate. We really want to see what that lagoon can do. And we believe there's some things we need to do, some maintenance and some changes essentially to how it's operated today to see how it'll perform. From that point, then we can see what kind of effluent it's producing and make some better determinations, get that information in front of our water quality experts and our engineering team to see what upgrades would be needed. We know some upgrades will be needed, but we just don't know what scope and scale that'll be until we really see how that performs the way it should and the way it was designed.
So in other words, the repairing of the aqua match, removal of vegetation, the UV, all of those different things may actually reduce the ammonia discharge themselves to a certain degree. And then you'll find out what really has to be done to get in full compliance. And do you have an idea as far as the schedule? I understand right now we're operating in compliance, but essentially acknowledging that we're not meeting the ammonia standard. So do you have a general sense of how many years it would take? We were given a deadline, if I'm not mistaken, Sean, of like 2021 to comply with a 5-year schedule. So obviously we didn't have enough time. Do you foresee that we could get this done within 5 years from now, or is it going to take even longer, do you believe?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable time frame, but that's really going to be dictated by the DNR. We're going to have to go back to them. I think for us to make the changes that the city committed to by next year, I mean, we're almost out of time to complete that at this point, to have something designed, to have that submitted to the DNR for approval and then built. I don't know that can happen in 2021. So,
absolutely not. Yeah.
Once we take over the system, we're going to have to go before the DNR, get the permit transferred into our operating name and entity, and then we're going to have to work with them to determine basically a new compliance schedule, and that'll be agreed upon between both parties.
Okay, and then in 10 years, you talk about investing as much as 38 million plus in infrastructure. Do you have a guesstimate of how much of that was allocated for the sewer treatment plant itself?
That's my memory, Kevin. I don't recall. I want to say it was around 18 million, but I don't recall right offhand. If you let me go offline and get back to you maybe tomorrow, I can get those numbers for you better.
Well, I think that gave me a general sense of what I was looking for. So I appreciate
I believe it was around 18 million.
Yeah, that was about the number you guys were talking in the public hearing, depending on the exact type of, because there was still a question of which of the methods, whether it was the oxidation ditch or full replacement, but it was in that range.
Okay, those are all my questions.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, and then the only thing else I was going to mention is that we've signed the agreement, but there still will be plenty of conversations and things going on between the city and Mole American. We still have details to work out as we go forward, but this agreement gets us to the next phase where we can get in here and get moving. So, anybody else has got any questions? I can entertain a motion on it.
I'll motion it.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to read this for the first time by short title. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, I didn't see any opposed. So we'll go ahead and do that for the first time. Kathy's reading it.
An ordinance to authorize the sale of the city's water and wastewater systems to Missouri American Water Company.
Okay, I move that we rebuild 2677 for the second time by short title.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a
Aye.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was everybody. Anybody opposed? All right.
An ordinance to authorize the sale of the city's water and wastewater systems to Missouri American Water Company.
All right. We gotta go one more time.
Motion to read it third time by short title.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, with everybody.
An ordinance to authorize the sale of the city's water and wastewater systems to Missouri American Water Company.
Motion to adopt Bill 2677 into ordinance by roll call vote.
Second.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Go ahead. You're muted. Don't make me go further, Wood.
Alderman Kilpatrick,
Yes.
Dykeman,
Yeah.
Escrazy,
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Holloway.
Yes.
Great job. What type of dog is that, Maria?
Oh, an Australian Shepherd.
He's big.
It's my grand dog.
Looking, I'm sorry, I got distracted. So that we did pass it unanimously. Bill, 2677 will bear ordinance number 2563. All right, and Brian, unless you're gonna hang out for the rest of the meeting, we're probably done with you. It isn't, it's a good show, but all right.
You're not done with me. I'm going to be around for a while. Thank you all very much. We look forward to working with you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Same here.
Hey, Brian.
All right, now we're gonna go on to be bill number 2678 and ordinance number 2564, and that's authorizing the solid waste contract extension. Any questions?
Okay.
comments?
If there's no
I have a
questions,
sec-
go ahead.
We didn't approve the minutes from last meeting, did we?
No.
All right, so we have to do that at some point, don't we?
I can do that now. Go ahead.
I don't care.
We'll make a motion.
Approve the minutes.
Like,
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
aye.
Anybody opposed?
Who seconded that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
I don't know. I think Wes and Jerry did that one.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know.
Which Jerry? Brown Jerry or?
I could not refer to you as that in minutes.
Well, Jerry, we always get so close to not being in a lawsuit. No, I can't wait to correct that, and we'll do it again, so. Yeah, well, we got Jerry Dykeman over there has got his snug top, his background in the back. Do you have any product you could roll out, or do you have any floor mats or anything, Jerry? They're on sale as we go through, and then we got the other guy plugging his restaurant, so this is gonna be great. We got Log Boat Roofing Company. This is just, man. Maria, you got any MasterCard stuff for us? That'd be great. All right, so, what else we got here?
Not tonight.
Folks? So I'm gonna go back to item 7, which was the solid waste contract extension. I mean, Craig, did you have anything you want to say on it? Just a brief. You guys want to keep taking the trash out?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
So I read that the city is, we provide some sort of customer service at this point. Can we put whatever it is we provide over the phone on the webpage, somewhere on our website? FAQs or whatever are the most common calls from people?
There is some solid waste collection content on our website and also contained in our guide to local services. We can make it more prominent or replicated, but this time it's there.
Okay. And then what's their customer service commitment like? Because I've called that number and, man, nobody answers. Sometimes.
That's
I mean, do they provide a level of customer service support?
It's funny on the video.
You're right.
He's not as funny on the
No,
video.
I mean, I can't speak as to their customer service quality. I've never actually called them, but we do field a lot of calls on their behalf.
Okay, well, as long as we can put something that is a little easier to find on the website.
We can do that.
All right, that makes me happy. Thank you, Craig.
There's no other questions or comments? Can I move that we read Bill 2678 for the first time by short title?
I'll second.
All right, Holloway got in early on that one, so he's the second one.
All right.
So we have a motion and a second to read Bill 2678 by short title. Go ahead, Ken. Oh, wait, we got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Everybody's on board.
An ordinance authorizing entering into a contract extension for citywide solid waste collection service.
Want to do it again, guys?
I make
Yep.
a motion to read Bill 2678 for the second time in short title.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
An ordinance authorizing entering into a contract extension for citywide solid waste collection services.
I'll move that we read Bill 2678 for the third time by short title.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I do think Holloway got Dykeman by just a little bit for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's good. Anybody opposed? All right.
An ordinance authorizing entering into a contract extension for wide residential solid waste collection services.
I motion to put Bill 2678 to ordinance 2564 by roll call vote.
Second.
Got it. Motion and a second.
Very good, Jerry.
Oh, I don't even do that anymore. Go ahead, Julie.
Alderman Kilpatrick,
Yes.
Dykeman,
Yes, ma'am.
Screezy,
Yes.
Sir,
yes,
Murray,
Yes.
Holloway.
Certainly, yes.
Jokester.
I went to law school, folks. All right, all right. Bill number 2678 will bear ordinance number 2564. All right, we're gonna go now to Bill 2679, which would be ordinance number 2565. Just a little bit of explanation for the public. This bill would, this is actually a really bill that's a long time coming, but this is a bill to engage the engineer to do the final design and engineering for the Allenton Bridge. What that means is that we have received effectively concept approval from both railroads associated with the with that bridge. Prior, we had long discussions with MoDOT before we went to the railroad. So those are really the big three regulators that we deal with on that. Nobody's given us a final approval, but all have kind of committed to say that it's worth going to final plans and letting them see that final set. So this is authorizing the city to engage our engineer to finish that set. Once we do that, we would send it to both railroads, the UP being the one that's the most difficult because that's where we fly over it at, and we're doing a replacement. But that has been this has been not a difficult negotiation so much, it's just a
Long.
consuming process. And but we have been able to make really good roads, particularly with the UP. We were able to take some other actions and negotiate to get this done. A lot of places are not able to get them to accept design exceptions. And given we were able to negotiate and get them to do that, and I think both the staff and the engineer, and quite frankly, the mayor has just done an incredible job on it. So, but anyway, that's the contract terms. So if you guys had any questions on the actual contract terms, it's in there, but it's a fairly standard form. Wes, I know you had a question or two on the engineering or the insurance form.
yeah, I just was wondering whether or not there'd be an issue with the insurance clause in there, the additional insurance clause, and also the 500,000 per person limit rather than the normal million that we usually require.
I know Craig had kind of gone back and forth on this one a little bit, and then we looked at it, and it's the same. I think it's the same clause we used with them the last time, like when we did the preliminary engineering one. And when he went back and looked at it, I think he's had some discussion, and it's a pretty standard. I think for that type of design services contract, what they're doing, I think it was pretty similar to what they've done with other large municipalities or other districts that would do bridges. So I think he was pretty comfortable. Plus,
Well, I definitely don't want this to interfere with getting the contract to get the work going.
well, and
So,
I think we'll have additional insurances again when we get it. This is just the design services. So when it gets to be like, when you're getting into all the construction activity and all that, we'll have a lot more different types that we'll be picking up as we go, even from
Right.
the contractor. So I think for the design part of it, it's probably sufficient based on what I saw.
with that, I'll make a motion then to read Bill.
And I have a
2679.
question.
Okay.
I have a question.
Maria's
Sorry. Wes, sorry. Is there some, what kind of agreement do we have with the railroads about that, the road, West Main? I mean, I know they own that property, but do we have a contract? Is it evergreen? What's the deal?
I think they just let us use it. I don't think there's a written contract. She's talking about the road between the tracks.
Yes.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah, hold on one second, Jerry. I just was checking with staff on that, Maria. We don't have a formal written agreement. I think it's just purely, they've let us do it because it's been there for a long, long time. So there is no formal, it's just more of a course of a course of conduct than it is anything else.
Well, do we think it might be a good idea to write something into this and perhaps include fixing it or maintaining it better or some sort of widening like we talked about last year? Is it too late for that, or
The
is it
problem
the
is
right
on
time?
that one, I mean, the types of things we were doing is we were actually having to give up, like, for example, there's a couple of at-grade crossings in other areas that we're gonna have to eliminate. So we weren't, if we're trying to, we really weren't trying to get additional, we weren't trying to get additional rights on that. And I think the ultimate goal hopefully is gonna be that, I mean, and again, if we were to go back in and say we want to improve a section, or if we could do that, I don't know that they would necessarily object if it was something that was an improvement, but they might, I don't know. And they have objected to that in the past. But I guess the goal would be is hopefully is if we get, hopefully we get the bridge in, we'll just see a lot less people on it too. But yeah, that was one we talked about, but I don't think we had an opportunity to go back in there and get them to give us more rights on that. They don't like us down there. Sometimes the approach has actually been to hope they'd forget about it.
Yeah. And there's it's not worrisome, the fact that there's no written, rule about our using that. What if they
Oh, it's very worrisome.
so can't we,
all I'm saying is I'm not sitting there sweating that they're going to take it away, but that's definitely a reason why I think we need to I think having that alternative access and then having less dependence on that. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world anyway, but I think the more we can get traffic off of it and just have an access point that's better, I think is a good deal. But yeah, I mean, do I think that they could just arbitrarily come in and shut it down? No, I think they'd have a very difficult that kind of course of conduct over years to just shut people off. But hopefully that's not an issue.
Okay.
Does this contract, does that fall under the scope of this contract at all? Isn't this just for the engineering purpose of the bridge?
For the Allenton Bridge itself.
I was next.
I'm sorry, Jerry Holloway.
Maybe this is something that has been asked in the past and maybe I missed it, but are we going to keep the same weight limits that the current bridge has? The reason why I'm asking is to cut down on the big tandem truck access to that bridge that tends to tear it up quicker than normal. Are we going to keep the same weight restrictions? Do we know? Can we modify that? What can we do?
It's going to be a full bridge that can handle about anything we put on it. So a full-size truck or bigger items are not going to cause the bridge problems any more than it would other bridges. It'll probably be the strongest and best bridge that we have in the area.
Jerry, are you asking about reducing the weight limit on the current bridge?
Well, I mean, just like with all the construction work that have come in and out of our area, period. Those big trucks do carry, they do tear up a lot of things. So I didn't know if we were going to keep the same weight limit or it was going to be open up to any type of tractor trailer, dump truck, tandem truck, whatever.
No, I mean, if you think about it this way, like right now, if you're in Ashton Woods and you want to move, you have to drive down the road between the tracks with a huge moving, like a Mayflower truck.
Sure.
So that's what I'm saying. The benefit is going to be is that if we have that bridge upgraded, the idea is to try and be able to provide full service to that Allenton area, anybody behind, and all those in those services so that you have that and they got the ability to access right on the highway as opposed to taking those same loads and services down that road between the tracks or potentially, Legends or different places. So it'll be, I'm not worried about it. I think it'll just take traffic that has to get there now and put it in a better position. Like for instance, a lot of times like those concrete trucks that are going from Breckenridge material that are down between the tracks and then they end up running downtown. I could see a lot of that traffic instead of hitting downtown and all the Central Avenue areas. I think you might see a lot of that traffic go the other way and head out toward the better highway access. I think the fact that it's a full functioning thing will provide, it'll be a help to a lot of areas. but it'll be designed so it's not causing a problem.
Well,
Plus,
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. These are some of the questions that will be asked as we move forward.
sounded like it mattered to you.
No, I just putting it all out there.
If you're mad at me, we could have done this offline. No, so no, that's fine. But yeah, that's the goal. So anybody else got any questions? Or motions?
I'd like to motion.
Okay, can I make that motion now?
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
Holloway made a motion. Wes, you making a second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on bill number 2679. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
I'm sorry, we gotta read it by, all in favor reading it by short title. So, go ahead.
An ordinance authorizing entering into a contract with Trans Systems Corporation for Allenton Bridge Engineering Services.
I make a motion that we
move.
read Bill 2679 for the second time by short title.
Second.
Carleen, second to Kevin. We got all in favor reading this one for the second time by short title.
Aye.
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 We all agreed. Go ahead, Kathy.
An ordinance authorizing entering into a contract with Trans Systems Corporation for Allenton Bridge Engineering Services.
I move that we read Bill 2679 for the third time by short title.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to read it for the third time by short title. Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody was opposed. Go ahead, Kathy.
An ordinance authorizing entering into a contract with Trans Systems Corporation for Allenton Bridge Engineering Services.
All right.
Okay, I move that we adopt Bill 2679 into ordinance by roll call vote.
I'll second.
Jerry wins.
Alderman Kilpatrick,
Yes.
Dykeman,
Absolutely.
Ascreasy,
yes,
Sir,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Holloway.
Yes.
All right, we unanimous approval on that one. So bill number 2679 will bear ordinance 2565. And that is the first Prop E project to get to this level. So that's cool. It's good to see us starting to get some of these things knocked out, and it's neat. So it's kind of a cool night that you can have the water issue and the bridge issue take that kind of a step forward in the same meeting. And I mean, despite all the stuff that's going on and the fact we're all meeting on phones, electronic, we're still making stuff happen. So, all right, we got bills for approval. If there are any questions or motions?
There are no additions or deletions. I make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we all agree to pay the bills. And then how about the recurring bills?
I'll make a motion to approve 'em.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to pay the recurring bills. All those in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, and then we have the financial statements. Does anybody have any questions on these? This is a shorter version. What we had Barb do, and we'll have her back when we do these in more depth, but we do need to acknowledge receipt.
I'll move to acknowledge.
All right, we got a motion.
second,
We got a second, motion and a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. We're on to 12 for Alderman comments. Anybody got anything? Wes?
Yep, I just want to let everybody know that the Seth Gable, who designed that feature for the kids area, last meeting, you saw in your notes that we approved an $800 expenditure for the materials. I just want to let everybody know that Seth has donated all the materials to that bike park
Wow.
and all the labor. So there will be no bill. That he donated everything.
that's
Awesome.
nice, really nice.
Yeah, it turned out cool. It's a
Great
neat.
job, Wax.
What?
And great job, Seth. Yeah.
Jerry Holloway said, great job, Wes.
Oh, Well, I hope that you all go out there and take a look at it.
This is what we used to do with my grandma. She would call around, then everybody hand her the phone. So we'd all, I got Jerry right now. So it's been fun.
Good job, Sonny.
All right. Any other, we got Wes's comments and that really did turn out neat. Okay, Jerry, do you have a comment?
I just want to,
Not you, Jerry, the other Jerry.
the good looking Jerry.
Good looking Jerry said he wants to go. So hold on.
I would like to put out that during these restrictions that our current restaurants are under, that as many people get out to support our local restaurants here in town, so that they can hopefully make some money for their employees during the holiday season. And it'd be great to see everyone get out there and help them out.
I'd like to second that, especially, when that goes to like buying, people who don't want to go out, and pick anything up or whatever, perhaps maybe purchasing gift cards or something like that to use at a later date as well. And that may even end up helping the restaurants even a little bit more, because then they'll have that money there in their pocket and they won't necessarily need to use it on product at this time. And that will hopefully get them over the hump until we can open back up. So yeah.
I'll be buying some red. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, it was a joke. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I just wanted to emphasize those points as well. I think that there has been a substantial amount of COVID fatigue, and part of that may be just kind of burying our heads in the sand and hiding a little bit. And so I think that I'm certainly going to make more of an effort myself and encourage my family to do exactly as you said, and kind of go out of our way to participate a little bit more with these businesses. I'm very concerned about the second wave. I know certainly our mayor has been vocal about that. We have a lot of businesses in jeopardy right now, especially the restaurants, but it goes beyond just the owners of those establishments. Tipping heavily would certainly be appreciated, I think, during this holiday season to help them out a little bit more. So I'm certainly going to take it upon myself to do so, and I hope others do as well.
Right.
Well, I also heard today, I had a meeting with Kristen about some issues with the bike park, and she told me that due to this COVID-19 restrictions, they lost 12 memberships this week already.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good.
Maria, you got anything else?
No, I was just gonna say I'll be buying some Red Door gift certificates, some gift cards for my kids for Christmas. To support local.
They're all over 21, right?
They are.
Okay.
Nice sipping whiskey, Maria.
Yes, good sipping whiskey. Yep.
So I'd like to go on a little more serious note when it comes to COVID. I understand that all of you guys aren't in the hospitals. You don't see what it is that I see the other end of it. I understand that I see the worst of the worst. I completely understand that. I get that. I do have to say that I was a little disappointed in your recent post, Sean, kind of just downplaying the COVID. It seemed as though, and perhaps I misinterpreted that, but it seemed as though it was downplaying COVID or those restrictions. I'm frustrated that the restaurants and the businesses have to close as well, but we also need to understand that a lot of that, that had been warned for a very long time, and wearing masks had been encouraged for a very long time, socially distancing, not gathering in large crowds, washing your hands. All of this has been out there. And there are several people, tons of people, obviously, who are not following the recommendations in order to keep those numbers back. So I do have to say that I do feel that part of these restaurants and businesses who are struggling and now having to close indoors lies upon several of those people who are not doing what is recommended. So I'm very disappointed. In regards to Dr. Garza's comment, when you referenced that, you referenced one of his comments from October 28th, and that was completely taken out of context, by the way. And his comment was to emphasize that, closing restaurants alone is not, may not be enough on its own in order to flatten the curve or bring it down, reduce it much, and encourage everyone to wearing masks, stop gathering in large crowds and socially distance and washing their hands. So that's kind of, again, that was taken out of context. So every little bit helps. And we're on a track right now that it's going to take a lot in order to bring it down. There are several hospitals that are, like he said 95% full. There have been several times at work where we've been 100% full. Like there's nowhere to go. I've been pulled down to the ED in order to take care of patients in the ED as inpatients because there's nowhere for them to go upstairs. We are taking on more patients per nurse, which is dangerous in and of itself. That lessens the care for everybody. It's not just COVID patients. It's affecting other people who may come in for other things. Whether it be a stroke or a heart attack, or somebody who comes in with altered mental status, an elderly person who simply has a UTI and needs IV antibiotics before they go septic and it hits their organs and whatnot. All of these things it's important to get care and not have delayed care. All of these other situations when care is delayed, the chances of a successful recovery are reduced. So with so many people coming in, and let me tell you, people who don't believe in wearing masks, people who don't believe in socially distancing and whatnot, when they get COVID and they are short of breath and having difficulty breathing and need oxygen, they come to the hospital. So the recklessness
Colleen, what is your point? Are you trying to admonish the mayor for practicing his free speech?
No, absolutely not. What I'm saying is that, I'm trying to say what I see. I think it's a public health issue. And I think that we need to talk about the other side of it. And so I've been quiet about this for a very long time. However, I think it's important to speak out there because people don't have the opportunity to see what really happens is what I'm saying. And I'm saying what's happening in our community. This is happening in our community. So I'm just trying to share a little bit of what I do see. Let's see, I wrote some things down and the thing, I guess my big thing is for people who say, well, people aren't dying of COVID, people are surviving and whatnot. My question is, what about the other patients who come in for other items, who have delayed care, who may end up with an unfavorable outcome because, including death, because their care was delayed because there was nowhere for them to go. So I'm asking that we as a community, really encourage, to follow through with this don't gather in large crowds, to, wear masks, the things that are saying that so many people are against. I think that it's time, it was time a long time ago to really encourage our community to follow through with this. And, I hope everybody, that is on Zoom right now and even more are on board with that. So I'm just saying that it's not going anywhere as of this point. And as leaders of our community, I think that we should be encouraging to others. So that's basically it.
Well, I had two things on here. One was on, we did as a citywide program, we put in, we are going back to our, the fire district and the city agreed to go back to doing we're doing lunch purchases at local restaurants in town. So we did establish that again to try and do something. I've got a couple other ideas on some things that we can look at on that. I guess I would and not getting in a big debate on it, but just give you back and forth on my perspective on it. A lot is, and again, it's my personal perspective on it. I think when I go around and look at what's going on, In our area, in general, any public places anywhere around, I generally see a lot of mask wearing. I just got off I hate wearing masks. I don't like doing it, but I got off a plane, did a bunch of stuff, and traveled this last week. And most places had a mask. You wear it, you comply with what's going on. I do have to say that on general, I think that there is a point where I think it's very difficult on the public when you demand things of them and are constantly saying you're getting this virus and it's all your fault because you're not wearing your mask, you're not distancing, you're not doing it. And I think it's having a counter, in my opinion, I feel like it's having a counter effect because people are saying, I've been trying to do these things for nine months. You've missed Easter. And I can tell you right now, when you say do those things, but what I hear in my eyes is my daughter, who is a junior at college, who was unable to do any of the activities, was unable to really meet people, date. I watched freshmen in school down there who joined organizations without ever being able to see them, did Zoom. All those are pretty significant sacrifices by, generally speaking, a group of people that are much lower at risk who are trying to do that for others that aren't there. I see that in the people that are unemployed. We did this, we did take care away from people for months with our hospitals early on and delayed that care. The exact things you're worried about was the actual policy we had to reserve. So I just think there's a lot to the conversation. Sacrifices large, and
How did we delay care at the beginning?
I didn't,
I'm sorry.
because we reserved a ton of room for COVID patients, stopped all, we're going back into that same thing where we said we're not going to do electives. We let go huge amounts of staff in the hospitals. I'm talking about your March, April reaction. But my other thing would be to say is, in general, I read on it, I try and look around, but I think it's also very difficult on the community when they watch the entire United States, even areas that have a lot of social distancing, even areas that have a ton of mask wearing, are all getting lectured. There was recently in New Mexico, which has had very low COVID up until about a month ago. They published an article in Science magazine where the governor was talking in glowing terms about how the state had outperformed other states. Within a week of the article being published, they've gone through the roof. And so it's like everywhere, no matter how good the compliance is, no matter how much you do, the lecture comes back that, and so I don't think people are trying to put people in the hospital. I think what they're looking at is saying, I'm doing all I can, but there probably is an element to the virus where we probably, everybody's trying to, and there's also a difference in approach. We have voluntary, they're trying, there's just a difference because I do think, Carlene, from a non-medical standpoint, we have a document in a kind of a system of government that says, if you're going to take away all of people's independence and rights, maybe you do it for a period of time. But we're at a point now where one person and one board can make a decision for 1 million people for an indeterminate period of time with no review by anybody. And you have no ability. So we're now, if somebody had told you a year ago, that the county executive could tell you when and when you can't leave your home, you would have said, that's crazy. You would have said, who is the county executive? And that's what I'm saying is there's a balanced argument here more. And what I really am concerned about, not so much on mask wearing or distancing or that type of thing, is what I'm concerned about is listening to several of the restaurants today that probably did 90% layoffs of their staff. And at the same time we did this layoff of all these different people, people may not like how I said something or where I stood up for, but in 4 days, these restaurants, whether we feel it was okay to just warn them that they were going to be the hostage for all this other activity in all the other areas, we've gone in and laid them off, and there is no financial program. The financial program that was told them is go ahead and tip your server. Well, if 90% of them are laid off, they don't have the ability to do that. And these businesses, I'm telling you, when you talk to them, they are bearing the brunt. And I talk to people on that in general. Their attitude toward the restrictions, they are much more in favor of the restrictions if they're not broke and unemployed. But when you put people in that position, my son is a junior in high school. He just walked into those doors for the first time 2 days ago since March. My family has sacrificed. It's more than masks. It's more than social distancing.
Absolutely.
All I'm saying is it's not my fault. It's not my son's fault. It's nobody on here's fault. It's a tremendous virus that people are trying to do their best. And we can do both. We can respect what's going on in your situations and in the hospitals. And I'll tell you the last one on a personal note, because this is one I find that's interesting. And I was talking to a friend at a dinner the other night because I get a lot of people that sit there and I have comments that'll say, hey, I seem kind of cold and a little cold on it or too businessy. And I rarely get into this with people, but I think this is actually a very healthy conversation. and I hope you know I'm not offended. I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's good that we talk about it one time. But at 18, I was driven to the scene of my best friend in college's car wreck up in Kansas City. When he left, I was the last person to talk to him. I identified him in the hospital. I've been inside an ER with a dead 18-year-old with his whole life in front of him, with his family outside when I was 18. I buried another friend who died in a very bad situation when he was 28 and listened to the sound his family made when they started wailing at his funeral and they had no idea. I buried my grandfather who died of AIDS that he received from a blood transfusion after going through dementia, World War II pilot that did all those two things. I understand exactly what goes on in an emergency. I understand emergency rooms. I understand what death is, but I also understand what life is. And I really have a bad feeling when I watch 18-year-olds, I know what one looks like dead in a hospital emergency room. And I value the fact that I met my wife in college, that my friend lost all that opportunity. And every day we take from them doing this is terrible. And I can tell you that I'm very concerned about the rate of suicide. I'm very concerned about things that are happening in our community right now that we don't talk about. And there's no way that they're all unrelated to, we see those levels, but there's no way that we can hand wash and mask our way through. I mean, there's a limited amount of time you can ask people to continue to do this and then yell at them when we have the hospitals. And I think that's the tension you and I have right now, is the exact tension the country's going through and trying to find that balance. And where I was trying to weigh in on this one was my frustration in that I don't personally, just on the restaurants, if you were to pick one slim item, I just don't see how taking them and saying, I'm going to single you out of this whole policy when nobody around us does it, including the city of St. Louis. I don't know how to explain to somebody how you can go 5 minutes from here and eat in a restaurant again, and we're going to punish these restaurants if nobody else in the area is doing it. And if it doesn't have a significant impact, I just feel like I don't understand the point of making them suffer worse than everybody else. So that's my spiel, Darlene. So, but again, I appreciate your point, and that's kind of my perspective on it back.
Well said, Sean.
And a quick little, go ahead, Jerry.
Go ahead, Jerry.
This is kind of personal for me, but Abby, Gunner, Sutton, Teresa, myself, Jonathan, and his wife are all getting over COVID. We've washed our hands, we wore our mask, but just one simple contact from a babysitter, we all didn't know what was going to happen 14 days ago. By the grace of God, we're all getting over it. And it's been a tough situation with having to close my restaurant again for 2 weeks. But by the grace of God, things are going to be okay. And my health and my family's health is more important than anything. And I understand where you're coming from, Carlene. I don't know what we can do as a nation, as a group of people. I've done everything that I could do to comply. And if people decided they didn't want to do it, that was on them. But I got it. I got it. And my wife, and my grandchildren, and my son, and my daughter-in-law. Just that quick. I have a restaurant that has been affected. But we got to think out of the box, and we'll continue to think out of the box to be able to survive. It's tough that the holidays are coming. It's tough that some of these kids are not going to get taken care of the way that they usually do. It's tough trying to figure out where we're all going to go. But we got to keep hoping and praying and and counting on each other to survive, because nobody knows what will happen between now and maybe April when we'll get this vaccination. But I just wanted to let everybody know I've gone through it. I'm on the back side of it. And by the grace of God, I didn't have to go to the hospital to be in that number.
I'm glad you're doing well, Jerry.
That was Carlene.
Well,
Carlene just said, just glad you're doing good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, my takeaway on this is that actually, I think everybody's right. The difference that we're seeing now versus back in March is we were worried about hospitals getting full. We are there now from all indications. And the unfair aspect, sort of, and Carlene may be able to back this up, is the fact that we're receiving patients now from outside the St. Louis metropolitan area where these rules are not in place. And so there is an unfairness to that. I think it would be an easier pill to swallow if all restaurants in the entire state, in the entire region, were under the same restrictions, because what's going to happen is, to Sean's point, it's almost as if they're being punished and singled out, yet we're going to still have the same problems because we're bringing these people in from elsewhere. And I understand that there are hospitals out of state that routinely are calling, asking if they can place patients, and they're actually being refused. I heard an interview with an administrator from a hospital in Memphis, Missouri, Northeast Missouri, talking about very difficult staffing shortages and a desperate situation. So things have changed in that respect. And it is scarier, to Carlene's point, that they are actually at critical mass. And this is going to continue accelerating, apparently. So I think we all need to be as guarded as possible. Jerry, I'm so glad to hear that you've dealt with it and coped with it so far, and continued to wishes on your health, your good health. But I think that everybody has some valid points here, and it is not an even playing field, certainly for restaurants in St. Louis County compared to others. I just wish that the pain was spread a little farther than it actually is.
Yeah, and that was more my, just again, in general, that was more my point. You're trying to limit maybe to a discrete item, but I'm just trying to say, hey, this is an issue that doesn't make sense in this context. And it's going to cause, just frankly, it's going to cause tremendous pain in our community, and it will result in very little benefit in our community. And that to me doesn't make sense. So I'm not saying that the hospitals, I'm not an expert on how much they can handle, when they can go, how many people were doing discharges, how they handle it. And again, I have my own personal opinions on some of those things. But again, I mean, we're seeing it. We're also not a unique, I feel like in some ways we're looking at St. Louis and saying this is this unique situation. Illinois just locked its entire state down, and they're a mask wearing, social distance. I mean, you're seeing it all up and down in a lot of different areas that have policies in there. So I think it's just a much more complicated issue. And I think, to me, I mean, the biggest one you can do that I completely agree with is I do think that large, the more you're able to kind of do, like that was, for instance, Carlene, like tonight, to me, this was symbolic in a way. We've done all our meetings live, but this is an example of something we really don't have to do live. We have a lot of people there, so it's an easy thing to do. And I would rather show something like this and say, hey, set up a meeting that you can on Zoom. If you can separate and not do stuff and kind of do that, I think that is a far better breaker, a far better spreader, something to prevent than it is to try and than it necessarily even a mask by itself. I think sometimes, like I said, I think there's things that are better, and I think that, but I'm very concerned that we're reaching a break point where if we continue to wag our fingers at people and we continue to top down tell them what they got to do as opposed to ask, which is what Americans traditionally have been asked to do, pull together and ask. And I think that's a huge problem we have, because it is almost, I as an old lawyer and as just a person that looks at stuff, it bothers me to no end to consolidate power in one person and have that one person make decisions for an entire community with almost no idea, and on a 4-day notice out of a press conference, no legislation, nothing, for 9 months. That is not the country I grew up in. And what you're seeing is the failure to comply is a direct lack of leadership to bring more people in and bring consensus, because they're concerned about that process as well. And it's not necessarily distrust of doctors or distrust of anybody, but this process has become very difficult. And I think a better process would have resulted in potentially CARES Act funding or something happening to maybe support those restaurants at the same time. And I'm hearing some kind of back end stuff, they might be able to do that, but the CARES Act funding that I saw take place, I mean, you look at the city, that was announced in April, May, and we got our funds in November. These people won't make it to then. So Carlene, if you got anything else, I don't want to, I talk. So if you want to do something, then we can hit our last session or.
Well, no, I understand what everyone's saying, and, you know, nothing is 100%. Masks aren't 100%. Hand washing is not 100%. Closing the restaurants, you know, nothing is 100% except for 100% isolation. And that's just unrealistic. I fully understand that. You know, again, I agree that, you know, asking people to do something rather than telling is preferable. But, you know, then when it gets to a community health crisis, the way that it is, I mean, you know, that's where, again, I see a completely different side of it than all of you. And I realize that. And I realize that the average person doesn't see the side of it that I do. You know, I just beg with everybody to, you know, follow the recommendations, you know, the simple mask wearing, the hand washing, and the, you know, socially distancing or not gathering in large crowds. So, you know, that it is what it is. And it's just, you know, I became a nurse because I care about people, and you know, losing somebody's hard. I'm not, you know, we're not robots. So when I have a patient die in one room, and then I have to go take care of somebody else in another, and call that patient's family whose family member just died, but they couldn't be with them, like, that's hard, you know, that's hard too. So as nurses, we're feeling it really hard. So I just ask everyone to think of their, you know, think of their neighbors, think of, you know, everybody, and you know, it is what it is. Everybody knows what the recommendations are. So I'm just, as a nurse, just pleading with everybody. That's it.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Good discussion. Anybody got anything else? We're ready to go in. Do we have a motion for closed?
I'll motion.
Second.
We got Jerry and then Wes for most for closed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we're going into close. So Jerry, I'm gonna leave Jerry Holloway on with me, and then we'll come back here in a second on the other link.
Okay, thanks.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.
See ya.
Hi, Caitlin, Mary.